Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and as you can tell from the countdown clock, the lesson is about to get started. In case you're new with this, there's a few things I'd like to show you to help you throughout the lesson. Over the last several weeks, we've been focused on specific topics, and so there have been other questions that came up, whether they were in your emails or surveys or even in the live chat, that just didn't quite really fit into what we were talking about in that lesson, but I felt like everyone would benefit from the answers. So today's our chance. We're going to clear house. We're going to get to all of the questions that you've had that just didn't quite really have a home anywhere else. So we'll tick through as many of those as possible. If you've got additional questions, throw them in the live chat. We'll try to get through all of the stuff that we can today before we're back on track with a focused topic in the next lesson. These lessons are always guided and shaped by your questions, and if you're live with us today, there's a couple different ways you can do that. One is in the public live chat, and the other is the Ask Jamin a Question button, where you can ask me a question privately, and I won't share your identity in case you're afraid that your question is stupid. But it's not. If you're in the archives, though, then just open up the survey. At the end of that, there's a place where you can ask your question. I will say I frequently get questions from students in the archives watching a lesson from 6 months ago, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So please try to be as specific as possible. If you're watching this at LearnPianoLive.com, there should be a PDF and an MP3 button right next to this video. The PDF will often have additional video links inside, so you can get more in-depth instruction on each of the topics. And if you're the kind of person who likes to print out the PDF so you can make the same notes on your physical version as I'm making during the lesson, now would be the time to do that. The MP3 is just a play-along track so you can practice more after the lesson. If these live lessons start feeling random or meandering, it's because they are, on purpose. So if you're the kind of person who wants classical training with a step-by-step method, then you're going to want to check out Kloppel Academy on the website. It's included in your live lesson subscription, so you can do both or either. And the upper levels are seriously hard work, but it's going to take you all the way from ground zero all the way up to being ready to enter any major music college as a piano major in classical or jazz. And thankfully, I think that's about all we need to cover before the lesson. So if you'd stick around afterwards and fill out the survey, I would love your feedback. But for now, let's have some fun and make some music. No, she's not here. Kendra is not here. She is probably asleep by now. Apparently, she stayed up all night reading because that was fun for her. Whatevs. So we've got this AMA. I've got the questions that were sent in ahead of time right here. And yeah, okay. Let's jump right into it. And we do have a feature of the day that hopefully we'll get to. It's got chord progression this week. But question number one that we have not gotten to in the last, whatever it's been. It's been like 8 or 9 or 10 weeks now at this point because we had so many other things that interrupted our regular schedule. By the way, next week is going to be the student concert, so we won't have a regular stream next week. I think that's the last week for a long time that we don't have a regular stream, but it's going to be a bunch of like the in-studio students that you would see if you watch the kids' lessons and show up. Man, don't feel bad if you see someone that's like a fifth of your age playing stuff that's like 10 times as difficult as the stuff you can do now. Use that as an inspiration instead of depression. Or, you know, maybe the opposite is true. Maybe you see someone who's older than you who can't quite do what you do. Like, hey, yeah, okay, I'm better than them, as if that's a thing. But sometimes you need some of that. So anyway, and then we've got a bunch of interviews and stuff coming up too. So make sure you're paying attention to your newsletter and stuff for all the updates. Anyhow, question number one, what is the right path for me? And I get a lot of different variations on this. And I'm trying to also pay, because Kendra's not here, I'm trying to pay attention to the chat here too. So the right path, of course, for everyone is different. Hopefully that's an obvious answer there. But then there's kind of 3 main things that we do here. One is the Kloppel Academy thing. So if you're the kind of person who like, I want to know what the right way is, the well-rounded approach, that I'm not going to be missing out on anything, then Kloppel Academy has everything. And it's going to start at the very, very, very beginning and go all the way through everything you would need to know basically to be a professional musician or to enter any music college as a freshman in either a classical piano major or a jazz piano major. There's a ton of stuff in there, 12 levels. So if that sounds like you, like, yeah, like, I really like the methodical approach and you just want to go through it, it's all self-paced. So as fast as you can learn it and pass the test, the faster you can move on. So there's that thing. Then obviously there's our live lessons here, which is just like each week it's always random, like me hearing back from you guys about what things you found really useful and what things I expected were going to be really useful that nobody comments on. But that's cool because you're supposed to get out of this whatever it is that you want to get out of it or whatever it makes sense to you. So this is just kind of like I liken it to, like, if you're going to if you want to learn a language and you like just go to a coffee shop, let's say you're learning Spanish and you just want to like go to Mexico and like hang out at a place where people are eating and just like pay attention to the conversation, you'll pick up like random bits and pieces and stuff. And so that's kind of what these live lessons are. It's just a whole bunch of stuff and people kind of pick off the parts that they want and they go apply that to their own music. And then there's the stuff, the pre-recorded stuff. So that's all of our courses in the Musipedia, which is really the focus of my energy recently, is just getting as much stuff in there as possible. It's the newest part of the website. We started out with just the live lessons, then we added in Clopple Academy, which was a huge undertaking. Now that that's kind of working on its own, then we're focusing on the Musipedia, the custom courses. So that's just, hey, I want to learn about jazz idioms, or I want to learn about jazz voicings, or I just want to do reharmonizations, or I just want to do whatever it is you're interested in. And we've got courses that are all laid out step by step that way. So all along the way, though, you've got me as your teacher, for better or worse. So whenever you have questions and stuff, honestly, the path that most people take is a little bit of each of those. And then they're like, well, okay, so I was doing Clopple Academy, but really I'm working on Let It Be. And I'm really excited about that. But this one thing is confusing for me. So the path for most people is start down any path just expecting that path is going to change as soon as you get a little ways down it. And then send me your questions, your video submissions and stuff like that about anything, because that's why you're paying $20 a month, is so that randomly I can be available for you when you got questions. So let me just check the chat real quick. Yeah, next week will be awesome. I have a question, but I know he won't answer it. You know that's not true. Are keyboards and piano any different, Jamin? Yes, absolutely they are. No, not at all. They're exactly the same buttons. And hopefully, as long as they're all in tune, all the buttons make the same pitch, the same frequency. But they usually, the touch of them is very different. However, okay, so that's the biggest thing. That's what all the pianists are going to say is, no, a keyboard doesn't feel like a piano. Whatever. A piano doesn't feel like a piano either, though. If you go into a piano store and you like sit down and you play 10 different pianos, they're going to feel 10 different ways. So there's not really a way that the piano feels. And anyone who says that they can like tell the difference between any keyboard out there and any piano out there, like there's some pianos that have really light touches that feel like keyboards, and the vice versa of whatever that was thing, the thing I just said. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so the feel is arguably different, but it's different among pianos as well. Probably the biggest thing for me is just the approach to it. So if I'm playing a keyboard, that probably means I have multiple other sounds. I'm not just playing a piano sound, and that I'm supposed to approach that playing it in that context the way that I would if I was actually on that instrument. So if I'm playing some strings or something, then I'm supposed to play it as string players would play. And so I'm going to voice things differently, and I'm going to use a volume pedal a lot more and stuff like that. And if I'm playing an organ, of course, we're not going to use the sustain pedal. Hopefully the sustain pedal, if it's a good keyboard, it gets automatically turned off if you turn to an organ setting. So you're going to play each instrument like that instrument. So you've got to have a much broader knowledge of what each of the instruments does and what they're there for. But all of the buttons to make the pitches are exactly the same. So playing keyboard and playing piano are like two entirely separate instruments in my brain. But like I said, all the buttons are exactly the same. So you could sit down and make the same types of noises on both of them, I guess. Play the same types of songs. Okay. College piano students stuck. Are they really mean? Are college students mean, or are pianos mean, or people who, yeah, it's not stuck. There's no T in the word. Oops. Yeah. College piano students stuck without the T. They are really mean. Yeah, no, well, yeah. People anywhere are mean, right? I don't know. There's a thing in any like skill too, like whether it's learning piano or playing basketball or whatever the skill is, whenever there's like when you're trying to achieve something, all the immature people in that group are always trying to compare themselves to each other. And then after a while that dies off and you just like try really hard at the thing that you're doing, ignoring everybody else. And then at competitive things like sports, once again, later on, it comes back in where like you're comparing yourself to another person, but just to get in their head, not because you actually care. Like you're just trying to be the best you can be. But so yeah, in college, you run into a lot of people who haven't hit that next level yet, and they're still comparing themselves to each other. Some people never get over it, obviously. But yeah, so people in general, immature people in general, stuck. I'm with you there. Oh, and then for passing the online test for the Kloppel Academy too. Yeah, that's you get as many tries as you want. So let's get into Kloppel Academy here real quick because we talked a little bit about it, and we still have one more question. Oh man, yeah, okay. We're a little behind already. That's all right. We got some time. There will be a jam tonight, even though Kendra's not here. So yeah, the Kloppel Academy is, like I said, it's self-paced. So there are people who take like there's stuff that you submit videos for. There's an online test that you take, and it gives you the answers immediately, like feedback immediately. And there's a broadcast test that you take where I like play things for you, and you have to like give me answers about what you're hearing and stuff like that. So there's kind of 3 sections to each of the different 12 levels. Three different parts you got to pass: the video submission, the online test, and then what we call a broadcast test. It's a live test that you got to take with me. So then the online test is the part that people will take. Like some people, if they've been playing for a long time, by the way, you can't skip steps. That's one of the other questions that's going to be coming up later. You can't skip ahead to like level 2 or 3 or 4. Like if you are already a professional pianist and you come in, you're going to start at level 1. We didn't used to do that. And what we had was we let students like test into different levels, but then they would like pass a test and we wouldn't realize, they didn't actually show us that skill. They just guessed correctly on a test. And so then later on that would cause all kinds of problems. We'd have to take them way back. And it was just a mess. And then trying to figure out like what level are they on? Like they can't do a 5-finger pattern, but they are playing these jazz tunes and stuff. So that was all a mess. So we just made it, no, you got to pass all of level 1 and then pass all of level 2 and then pass all of level 3. But we're talking about the online test part. You can take that as many times as you want. So literally if it takes you 100 tries, that's fine. I don't think anyone so far has taken 100 times to pass the test, but certainly people have taken over 20 to pass the test before. So whatever level you're on, that's what level you're on. And everybody hits a brick wall when they're like, if they're, let's say they're level 4 in Kloppel Academy, right? They should be, but they're trying to pass all the tests. They pass level 1, yeah, whatever. They pass level 2, yeah, that was easy. They pass level 3, whatever. They get into level 4 and it's like, oh no, this is really hard. This is taking me a long time. I must have gotten worse, or I'm not as good as I thought I was. But you were just doing easy stuff before. So wherever that is for you, if it's in level 1, cool. If it's in level 2, whatever. Level 3, at some point is going to get really, 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 really hard. That's the whole point of the thing. So if that's level 1 for you, then whatever, cool. Just take your time. No pressure. It's all self-paced. Okay, cool. And then I don't know what that other thing is. Next one. So we talked about what is the right path for me. Again, just whatever your path is, and then ask a lot of questions along the way. That's the I guess the right answer. The right path is to ask a lot of questions. Okay, so next one. In the Fort Vine interview, that's right. Why didn't you push back when they were saying what I know you disagree with? Well, first of all, the person who wrote this question, you might not be as right as you thought you were about what I would think about some of the stuff they were saying. And also in the interviews that we do, I generally try to let the person, unless it's like someone that I know really well and that we tend to fight a lot anyway, and I know that like my pushing back isn't going to change their answer in any way. I try to let all the artists like just say what they want to say, because I'm getting to say whatever I want to say all the time to you. So so I'm really just I'm asking questions to emphasize what they want to say and to let them fully express themselves. And I'm usually just not going to push back. because that seems mean to me. I think I'm ready for Clapple Academy level 2 or 3. Nope, you can't do that. Let's do one more. Can we sort the archives by level? So we used to sort the archives by level, and we don't do that anymore because now we're doing all of the levels to a lesson in one lesson. So we used to have a beginner lesson, and it was like 15 or 20 minutes. Then we had an intermediate lesson, it was like 15 or 20 minutes. Then we had an advanced lesson, and so they were all these little tiny lessons. But then when we stuck those in the archives, people would search for like an intermediate lesson. They'd go pull it up. It's like a 15-minute lesson that doesn't make any sense at all because they weren't picking up the beginner lesson before that. So we decided, let's just do like an hour-long session every single week, and we'll do the beginner part first, the intermediate part next, and then the advanced part. So that's why we changed the archives, so you can't search by beginner, intermediate, or advanced anymore. You just search by topic, and then if you feel like you're intermediate or advanced, then you can move on to those on your own. And then you can always tell by this little bar, I guess is right there, whether we're in the like the beginner portion or the intermediate portion or whatever like that. So, and we have the breaks in between. So that's why you cannot search by level in the archives. And I guess that means we should probably do our feature of the day. We'll see if we can do this without Kendra here. So it's going to be a 1, major 3, 6, and then we'll go back to the questions here in just a second. So in case none of that was interesting to you and you're hoping to pick something out of this lesson, this would be cool. In the key of C, a 1 chord would be a C. A 3 chord, 1, 2, 3, would be an E minor. Now, a lot of times this E minor, this 3 chord, will be turned into a major, even though this note goes outside of the key. So we have a 1, and then we have a 3, a major 3, and that usually goes either to a 6 or to a 4. And those 2 chords are kind of the same. Like that's a 6 chord, and that's a 4 chord. That's a 6 chord, that's a 4, that's a 6. So it's basically the same chord. So going from a major 3 to a 4 is very similar to going from a major 3 to a 6. So we'd go 1, major 3, 6, and this is found all over the place. So there's Penguin and a Floaty. Right here, that's the major 3, and that's 4. But it's all over the place in other stuff, other songs too. Like, you got friend in me. Ahead and you're miles and miles from your major 3 to 6. Also, the song, I can't sing this one. The Creep song. Cause I'm a creep. And that's the one. There's that major 3. There's the 4, which is also a 6. So the 1 to the major 3 to the 4, especially if you're writing your own songs and stuff, something that you might want to check out. But I guess that means it's time for us to move on to the last, 10 questions or so, and anything that's in the chat that we haven't gotten around to yet. We will get to all of those in just a minute. So sadly, the lesson preview has come to an end, and it's time to say goodbye to everyone watching the free streams. Of course, paying subscribers at learnpianolive.com can continue watching this lesson and several hundred others like it in the archives. So come on over and check us out, and if you like what you saw, at least like and subscribe, and then tell your friends to head on over to learnpianolive.com to start enjoying this journey with us.